This is Tax System, the Predatory Lending Network here with the January unemployment report. Now, unemployment came in at 7.9% and underemployment came in at 14.4%. What do you think about that, Jack?
Those numbers are incorrect. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
These numbers are incorrect because within anything that the government gives you, those statistics are off because they feed the public in order for the public not to panic. But in reality, it's way more than 14%. You know, and people unemployed, it's way more than that.
So what do you think is the real unemployment rate?
The real unemployment rate in Los Angeles is probably about 18.
Now, officially, they say there was no change in the unemployment rate in the last 5 months. What do you think about that?
Well, the thing is, the government has to say that because it'll put the public in panic if they don't. The thing is, you cannot trust our government at all. So you have to understand, even though we are the United States of America, we are, if not the most corrupt nation out of the entire world. The reason I say corrupt is because we have senators who do basically backdoor deals all day long. And there were actual senators who retired and said that and showed proof, you know. And the thing is, it's very incorrect. What they're telling us is such false hope, you know. You have to understand, this administration is all about you scratch my back, I'll scratch yours, and that's within the politicians.
Just can you look at the camera though? Employment increased by 150,000 jobs in January, below the average of 181,000 jobs per month. Jobs increased in retail trade, construction, healthcare, and wholesale trade. Yet jobs were down in transportation and warehousing. What do you think about that?
Yeah. No, those numbers are incorrect. It goes back to, you have to understand, it goes back to basically the government was always saying we're in a recession, we're in a recession, we're in a recession. This isn't a recession, this is a depression. You know, they're giving us false hope. These numbers, they just give it to us to make them feel like, or like they're doing something about it. And they're not, you know what I mean? They are to some extent trying, possibly, but if it doesn't advantage, or if it doesn't basically if it doesn't do something for whoever's pulling the strings up at top, whether it's making money or not, they're not going to do it. You know, I mean, it's not to their advantage. We are all about making money. The Senate is all about making money. That's how come you have to vote only 2 terms for your senator. Because these guys, how am I going to have somebody who's over 60 years old, who's over 70 years old, to be mentally competent to run this country?
Now, construction employment has grown by 296,000, with 1/3 of the gains occurring in the last 4 months.
Yeah, those numbers that anything that the government will give the public is incorrect. It's just wrong. It's false.
I didn't finish it.
Oh, sorry.
I wrote such a long question, I kind of figure out how to read the damn thing. Construction employment has grown by 296,000, with 1/3 of the gains occurring in the last 4 months. Construction employment grew by 296,000, with 1/3 of the gains occurring in the last 4 months. Construction couriers, that's the word that's stolen me. Construction employment has grown by 296,000, with 1/3 of the job gains occurring in the last 4 months. Couriers and messengers lost 19,000 jobs following strong seasonal growth in November and December. Air transportation lost 5,000 jobs. How will the government budget cuts affect transportation and housing?
You got to understand, if it doesn't, those numbers, if the government is into it, it's going to affect transportation and housing enormously. You know, if it doesn't benefit the senators or whoever's putting this deal together, those budget cuts, you know, it's not going to benefit anybody. You know what I mean? Our government or our Senate has become so corrupt. Like I said, they have to give us these numbers. If you look at, I look at the news every day. They are constantly saying, like, looking good. Well, we killed a terrorist here, we killed a terrorist there, we put jobs here, we put jobs there. But you gotta understand, man, this money, we're in $15 trillion debt. The moment a child is born, he is in debt over $100,000. The moment he comes out of a mother's womb. You know, they can do cuts all they want. We can borrow and print money all we want. But we are literally on the verge of a financial disaster.
Okay, so in closing, is there any last minute things you'd like to say?
Yeah, you know, everybody praises Obama to a certain extent. The media is with him. All I say is, you know, voice your opinion, because it's almost like everybody's in this like euphoric sleep across the country. The United States has to wake up. Its people has to wake up. You take to the streets, you go, everybody go to Capitol Hill. Everybody has to, it almost has to be almost like a revolution just about to wake up. And for your senators, the senators, they have to pass only 2 terms in order for these people, because you have to have fresh blood. These people are so entrenched in their deals. I forget what senator it was, but he said there's no bipartisanship, there's no Republicans, there's no Democrats. That doesn't exist. All they do on Capitol Hill is do backdoor deals all day long, and they make well over $250,000. You know? These people have the power. They have the power to stop projects and to start projects, you know? And that's the whole thing. Our government is so corrupt, you know? And as far as Obama goes, we got this guy, look, he came from Illinois politics. Illinois politics, when you study it in Chicago, it's called the machine. And within the machine, the creator and the inventor of the machine, when you look at textbooks in Illinois, Chicago, the creator and inventor of the machine, Al Capone. You know, he sold us a bill of goods. And right now, everybody's lethargic. I don't get it. Everybody's just sitting there like, oh, it's all going to pan out. It'll be decades. It'll literally be decades before we get out of this mess. We are $15 trillion in debt. You know, our financial institution is so fragile right now that nobody even gets it, you know?
Okay, so in closing, this is Tax System, the Predatory Lending Network, signing out. It's Tax System, the Predatory Lending Network, out with a January unemployment report. The unemployment came in at 7.9%, and underemployment came in at 14.4%. What do you think about that, Darth?
I think that that unemployment is it's an epidemic right now. You know, a lot of people are going to be unemployed. It's terrible.
Now, many folks have seen no change in the unemployment rate for the last 5 months in the empire. What do you think about that?
That's what I'm saying. I believe it's an epidemic. It's just going to continue to go higher and higher. There's nothing in sight.
Now, employment increased by 157,000 jobs, below the average of 181,000 per jobs. Jobs increased in retail trade, construction, healthcare, and wholesale trade. Yet jobs are down in transportation and warehousing. What do you think about that?
I think that most of those jobs that are up are part-time jobs, and I don't really know about the other jobs in warehouses and construction, you know, but I know that most of those jobs that was added was part-time jobs.
So are you almost done with the construction of the Death Star since you say they're part-time jobs?
Yeah, I have nothing to build.
That's good.
No funding.
Now, construction employment grew by 296,000, and 1/3 of the job growth was in the last 4 months. Couriers and messengers lost 19,000 jobs following strong seasonal employment in November and December. Air transportation lost 5,000 jobs. How will the government budget cuts affect transportation and housing?
You know, I really don't have an answer for that. I really believe that if you are an intellectual, you're not going to be able to find work. If you like to work with your hands, and get out there and swing a hammer, that might be the best route for you to go.
Okay, so in closing, is there any last minute things you'd like to say?
Welcome to the dark side.
So in closing, this is Taxes from the Predatory Lending Network, signing out. Now this is Taxes from the Predatory Lending Network, talking to you. Now the unemployment rate for January was 7.9% and underemployment was 14.4%. What do you think about that?
I think that shows the economy isn't getting any better. We're being lied to.
Now there was no change officially in the unemployment rate for the last 5 months. What do you think about that?
Change?
There was no change in the unemployment rate for the last 5 months. What do you think about that?
Change? What change, Obama?
That's exactly right. Now, employment increased by 157,000 jobs in January, below the average of 181,000 jobs. Jobs increased in retail trade, construction, healthcare, and wholesale trade. Yet jobs were down in transportation and warehousing. What do you think about that?
Shows that nothing's changing. We're being lied to. So I need to go back to my galaxy then.
Now, construction employment has grown by 296,000, and 1/3 of that was in the last 4 months. Couriers and messengers lost 19,000 jobs following the strong seasonal growth in November and December. Air transportation lost 5,000 jobs. How will the government budget cuts affect the transportation and housing industry?
I guess he's going to have to keep taxing people like me, the rich.
The rich?
Yes.
So, in closing, is there any last minute things you'd like to say?
The force is strong out here. I feel it. But I got to go back to my galaxy because of all this BS.
So in closing, this is Taxes from the Predatory Lending Network, signing out. This is Taxes from the Predatory Lending Network, talking to you. Now the unemployment rate for January came out and it is at 7.9%, and underemployment came in at 14.4%. What do you think about that?
That sounds depressing.
Now there was no change in employment for the last 5 months. How does that affect you in Wonderland?
Oh, well, luckily I'm self-employed, but Wonderland isn't really affected, rather, because money grows on trees down there. But in Hollywood, yeah, money is very scarce.
Now, employment increased by 157,000 jobs in January, below the average of 181,000 jobs per month. Jobs increased in retail trade, construction, healthcare, and wholesale trade. Yet jobs were down in transportation and warehousing. What do you think about that?
Oh, it sounds like we're outsourcing jobs, which sounds terrible because we are an economy that creates jobs. So to outsource them would be like shooting ourselves in the foot or offing with our own head.
Now, construction employment increased by 296,000. Construction employment increased by 296,000, with 1/3 of the gains occurring in the last 4 months. Yet couriers and messengers lost 19,000 jobs following strong seasonal growth in November and December. Air transportation lost 5,000 jobs. How will the government budget cuts affect transportation and the housing sector?
I have no idea. You know what? I fly by hat, but for all you people who drive cars, I feel very bad for you with $5 a gallon. I think anyone who works in construction, that's backbreaking labor. But if we're building what? Housing? I have no idea.
Okay, so in closing, is there any last minute things you'd like to say?
Oh yes, don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Okay, so in closing, this is Taxes from the Predatory Lending Network, signing out.